What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of A Father's Authority. I'm your boy, Nate Holloway, and tonight I got a great interview for you guys. For those of you who tune in for the first time, A Father's Authority is a part of Kingdom Relationships, and what we're doing here, we're having an initiative to bring the hearts of the fathers back into the children. We want to give fathers who may be new fathers wisdom to be great fathers, and fathers who are seasoned fathers even more wisdom, and those fathers can help the new fathers. But what I do is each week that we do these interviews, I bring on a father to speak to you and give you wisdom, and I interview them and ask them questions. But tonight, sometimes I bring on a son or a daughter to talk about fatherhood from the child's perspective. And tonight I have a young man who I'm very proud to know and very proud of. I've known this young man since he was very, very little. And he's grown up to be a great young man, powerful man of God, great husband, and he's going to come on and talk to you about fatherhood from a son's perspective. I've seen his father raise him. I know his grandfather who helped raise him, and he has some great wisdom for you guys. So guys, just stay on, listen to him, and grab that wisdom, and welcome on with me, Anthony O's Jr. What's up, man?
What's up, big brother? Thank you so much, man, for this opportunity tonight to speak on fatherhood. Of course, I'm not a father, but I am a son. So I'm honored, man, to be up here to hang out for the next hour, however it goes, man, to just talk and to really dialogue on the area of fatherhood and what it means to me, and how it is that we can continue to press for great fathers just in the world. So thank you, man, for this opportunity.
Oh man, thank you. I'm honored to have you on. You're big time now. You're out in Dallas. You're growing up. You're doing big things, guys. This man's an awesome musician, awesome preacher.
You, man.
You guys gotta check him out and listen to him. But Anthony, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man.
All right. So I'm Anthony. I'm 28 years old. I always like to start off with this. I love my wife. I've been married for a year and some months now to my beautiful wife, Simone, who's probably watching and tuned in. Other than being a husband, I am an enrollment student services coordinator at Jake's Divinity School, located at the Potter's House of Dallas. I currently am in school, finishing up my PhD program. Please pray for me. But God has been great in my life, man. I hate talking about myself. So yeah, I don't like talking about myself, man. But I just tell people just to watch, and prayerfully you learn something from my life. You learn something from my ministry, or whatever it is, whatever aspect of me that you get. I pray that you learn something from it. One last thing, I am a lover of higher education. I've been working in higher education since I was 18. So that is my passion. So if you hear me reference, college tonight or anything like that, it's because it's something that's been deeply rooted in my life. So I am a lover of higher education. But that's enough about me.
Man, hold on. You guys only been married for a year and some months?
Yep, we got married. So we got married, man, in October of 2019.
Dude, I
pandemic hit.
Longer than that.
Nah, but we dated. We dated for 6 years before we actually got engaged.
Yeah, but guys, let me tell you about his proposal video.
Oh man,
this dude went above and beyond, which was awesome. We're gonna get in that. But it was
I
awesome,
know, man.
They make a great couple. But man, I thought y'all were married longer than that. So, well, Anthony, tell us about you. I know you had your dad and your life coming up. Tell us about that. Tell us about your life growing up with your dad.
Man, my life growing up with my dad. My dad is my inspiration. From everything about waking up in the morning to the time I go to bed. I really learned to model my life after my dad, seeing the various things that he did throughout the day, from waking up in the morning to pray, from fixing his tie a certain way, spraying cologne in certain areas. My whole life, man, I modeled it after my dad. But the most important part about having my dad is that I felt that I had a foundation. I felt that I had somebody to keep me on the right path. I felt that I have somebody who was able to encourage me in bad times, somebody who's able to correct me even when I'm wrong, man. I was chastised as a kid. I didn't get time out or anything. I didn't know what time out was, man. So my friends would come to school and talk to me, man, my mom grounded me. I didn't know what being grounded was, man. It was kind of like a one and done thing. You do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
But
Trust
but
me.
but that was life growing up with my dad, man. I had a wonderful opportunity to develop a strong relationship with my dad, and I still develop it. But it was, man, it was having that foundation, having that drumbeat, having that security at nighttime. Having that God-given authority that a father places in you. It was something, as a child being taught to walk around with my head held high, being taught to know how to move and maneuver in different audiences. My dad is a preacher, so I followed him my whole entire life in his ministry, but also my dad is an educator. So I've gotten to see my dad talk to various groups of students and then leave that engagement and then go down the street to preach at somebody's church. So really knowing how to present myself before multiple audiences is what really blessed me, growing up with my father. So I thank God for my dad every day, man. I would not be the man that I am without my father's impartation in my life.
Man, your father was instrumental in all of our lives, man. He touched
Absolutely.
all of us, man. I remember we used to come down for from Richmond for conferences and stuff like that, man. Your dad
Yep.
used to always talk to me, man. I could go to your dad for advice at any
Yep.
time, man. Just seeing his example, man, on the organ, my God. Watching him
man.
on the organ, man, and getting to play with him was
Yeah.
just a joy. So what does fatherhood mean to you?
Fatherhood, man. It's a foundation. It's the rhythm. It's the rhythm of life for me, in my opinion. It's the rhythm of life. Fatherhood really gives opportunity for somebody to leave legacy, but not just to leave legacy, but to make sure within that legacy that there are certain avenues and venues which can be critical to the growth of a son or a daughter. It gives them an opportunity to expose those avenues and venues to their children. Fatherhood to me is something that allows you to be able to be consistent in your approach to various people that you would deem as your son or your daughter. Because truth be told, man, it's a lot of people out there who don't have children but are still fathers.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. It's some people who, they may not have physical children, but it's somebody that's looking up to them and their father. And that fatherhood, that foundation, that sense of safety that you get, being able to give that to somebody, man, that to me, that is fatherhood. Being able to put yourself on the front line to protect the family, to protect your children, to pour into your children, to cover them. That's what fatherhood really is to me. Being able to say that, you know what, I know that I have this life that I want to live. I have my goals, my dreams, my aspirations. But even with the goals and dreams and aspirations that I have, I keep in mind, even though I'm doing my own goals, even though I'm doing my own thing, I keep in mind that I have people that I'm protecting.
Yeah.
And that's what fatherhood is to me, man.
And that's critical, man, because as a father, you have to keep that in mind. And I know your dad, because I know your dad, and I know you watched your dad do that. You have to keep in mind that your actions affect your kids. Your action, they watch you. My son watches me like a hawk. If I say something, he gonna repeat it. If I do something, his actions are gonna be that. And it's critical because our kids are sponges. And even as an adult, as you grow older, when you see a consistent pattern of behavior with your dad growing up, that's the pattern of behavior that you produce as an adult.
True.
And
that's true.
For me, I didn't have my father growing up, but people hear me say my dad. I'm talking about my godfather, who helped raise me. And that's how I met your dad, through him. And
man.
Bishop Moore from Virginia. And he helped raise me, and he treated me like a son. So he's, like you said, when you talk about those people, now he had his own children, But it's like
Right.
mentors. When you're a mentor and you're fathering other kids,
Right.
it's crucial, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the father I am today.
Yeah, that's real, man.
I could have been one of those guys that said, I don't have my dad, so I don't know how to be a father, so I'm going to just go ahead and neglect my child and leave. But because of that, it helped me to say, okay, this is what I do as a father,
Right.
even though I didn't have it in the home, but this is what
Right.
I saw modeled. And that's the
Right.
importance of fathers modeling to their kids. You're a prime example of that. Your dad
Yeah.
modeled to you how you how you carry yourself, how you dress, how
Yeah.
you put on your cologne, how you fix your tie, and you see
All of it,
that.
man.
Yeah, you see that
Yep.
in your walk, in your character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that, man. And what's amazing is I sometimes, and I'll be honest, growing up, man, I used to think that my dad was so hard on me, man. I thought that my dad, there were certain times when I thought my dad was going to kill me. But because he saw so much potential inside of me, that he literally took time to pour into what was an empty vessel. When you're first born, man, you're not born with knowledge. Knowledge comes to you. This is my psychological side kicking in. Knowledge comes to you based off of the things that you experience. You are able to have learned knowledge, and but you're born empty.
Mm-hmm.
So you're born empty, and the goal really is to die empty too.
That'll preach, Doc. That'll preach.
So yeah, so I'm born not knowing anything,
Mm-hmm.
but when I die, I want to make sure that I poured out everything.
That's good.
So my dad poured into me and continues to pour into me everything. And what's going to happen is now when I have children, I'm going to pour into my children, so that when I'm an old man and I leave the earth, I can literally say I poured out everything that was poured into me. It's reciprocal. It's a pattern. There are things that my father's father taught him, and he taught me. It's
Mm.
things that I'm going to show. My son or my daughter. It's things that they're going to show them. So it's always a cycle. It's always a revolving cycle of knowledge, man. But when you put yourself in position to receive that. I could have easily, like I said, I thought my dad was gonna kill me at one point, man. I mean, there were some times where we would get in arguments because I would want things to be done a certain way. As a young man, you're fast, you're going and you're moving, and you're like, man, dad, I got it. Times have changed, and you know how that whole
Yeah.
conversation goes. Pops, times have changed. Now it's not like it was in 1975. It's not how but then I come to find out, man, there are some principles that never age.
Never age.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's timeless, and sometimes, like you said, we be like, man, they're so hard on us. But as you get older, you think when you do something, dad, go back to what he told you. You go back to
Yep.
something he said. Because I think myself, my godfather said, now, even when I'm doing something, I'm like, what would daddy do?
Mm-hmm.
Like his model, one of his models, what he drilled in us was looking good and smelling good. You always had
Oh
to be,
yeah.
you always had to have on
Yep.
cologne. You always had to have on a watch. So one day I was about to go to work. I was like, man, I'm not wearing a watch today. And I was like, what would dad do? And
See.
I was like, let me put on that watch. And my son asked me one day, he
See.
said, Daddy, why do we always have to match? And I said, because Papa taught Daddy that's what you have to do.
Yep.
Okay, then
That's
one day
right.
he said to me, I was putting some red shoes on, he had on something else. He said, Daddy, do you see red in my shirt?
Oh
It
man.
don't match. I was like,
See.
it's what I'm putting in them. So before I go into the next question, we talked earlier, and I know how influential your grandfather was in your life. Talk about a little bit about your grandfather and how he impacted you as well.
Oh man. My grandfather was very special to me because spiritually, I learned so much from my grandfather. Um, my grandfather learned how to read from reading the Bible. My granddad would read the Bible out loud. In the back room, you would hear him because my granddad, he didn't go to college or anything like that. I don't believe my granddad even went to high school or completed high school at the most. But my grandfather was adamant about family, and he was adamant about presentation. And you'll see it in me. You'll see it in my cousin Jeff.
Yep.
We've been taught how to literally put together a wardrobe from watching our grandfather, how to make sure that we are well groomed. The only reason I didn't have a cut tonight is because my barber was booked. But we were taught, man, to how to iron a tie, to put a towel over the tie if you want to iron it. We were taught how to starch our shirts. So much that we learned from our grandfather, shining shoes. My grandfather was so instrumental in everything that I've done, man, to the point now, sometimes when I go over to my grandmother's house, or if I'm taking a nap, sometimes they will come in the room. And the problem one time, and my grandmother kind of screamed because I was in the room and I was asleep, but I sleep like my grandfather.
Mm.
It's the most craziest thing in the world. I have so many of his mannerisms because I spent time with him. But not only that, I learned what servanthood was from my granddad. My grandfather one day was shining. He went to go shine my dad's shoes in my granddad's house.
Oh,
And my
wow.
dad was like, Pastor Askew, why are you shining my shoes in your house? He said, because I serve who's in my house.
Mm.
He said that just because you're a guest in my house does not mean that I can't serve you. So I learned what servanthood was from my grandfather. I learned, and I'm not a pastor, but I learned about the pastoral ministry from my grandfather. He always gave us this lesson. He said, Chuck, Jeff, love the people. These are not your people,
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that, my granddad taught me how to find good food spots, so it wasn't so spiritual all the time, but it was nothing for him to go from church to Feather and Fin, to get a 3-piece or a 2-piece. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it was nothing to do there. That 4-piece special, man.
4-piece special, sweet tea and pink lemonade. Shata.
Pink lemonade. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With the roll.
With the roll, yes, man.
Yes, sir.
I actually had an opportunity to experience that with your grandfather and grandparents, man. I remember one year when I was in college, your Aunt Roz invited me over their house for Thanksgiving. I think you guys were there too. You guys were young though, because your
probably
dad,
young, yeah.
Everybody came over and they wouldn't let me do nothing. I mean,
nothing.
You enjoy food, you enjoy eat. Your grandfather imparted wisdom. Your grandma's tried to stuff me up, It was, but I had a chance to sit down with your grandfather too, man, and hear him and talk to him, and he was a great man of God. So let me ask you, what's the best part of having a father?
The best part of having a father is being able to still have that communication. I think that I've learned that every moment in life, every avenue of life, whatever it is, revolves around relationship. The greatest moment in a man's life is to me, and I know this because it hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm expecting it. Being able to have a child, that joy that you get, this, the joy that you get from giving birth to it. But what is that built on? That's built on a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It took relationship to create a child. It's going to take relationship to keep the child.
Yeah.
To keep the child on the right path. So everything revolves around a relationship. Having a relationship, man, to me is the best thing about having a father, because there are plenty of people that I know who have literally had broken relationships for the rest of their lives with other people because their relationship with their father was skewed. It was broken. It wasn't complete. And so many people have suffered dearly because of that lack of relationship and communication with their father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of the most difficult parts about me moving to Dallas, and people were like, man, well, you're going to Dallas, man. You're working at, one of the greatest churches. You're doing this. I said, but I can't get to my father. I just can't go hug my father. I can't go and dap my dad. I can't go and say, hey, Dad, let's go have lunch. I mean, unless I go on American Airlines and catch me a flight straight from DFW to Norfolk every day, but I can't do that. So those things right there, that communication, that relationship, that's the best part to me about having a father, because you have somebody to talk to. You have somebody to communicate with, but also as a son, you have another man who can identify with you. through various things that you've experienced, various avenues of life, different constructs of a business for some people. Some people have fathers who are business owners and things like that. So whatever avenue of your life that your father is important to you in, it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you said something key when you said about the broken relationships, or people have broken relationships with other people because of they had a broken relationship with their father. And
Yeah.
I've always looked at that because because I tell people you can change that.
Right.
Because like for me, not having my father affected me a lot. But one thing it
Mm.
did not affect is my relationship with my son. It's me raising.
Wow, man.
I made a promise that it was not going to do that. I made a promise that I was going to do for my son what I didn't have. So what my father not being there taught me was what to do for my son and what not to do for my son. So because
Yeah.
he wasn't there, I say sometimes, my father taught me how to be a father and how
Wow.
that by not being there, because that taught me
Wow.
that I never want my son to experience that. Because here's the thing, I dealt with that for a while. My wife had to help me with it because I my son's a daddy's boy. So a while back when I would come home, whenever I come home, he wants all of my time, every piece of my time.
Wow.
As soon as I walk through the door, Daddy, can we play? Daddy, can we do it? Daddy, we do
Yeah.
like right. He was like, Daddy, can we play? I'm like, Bud, Daddy got to do an interview. Oh, but I just want some time with you. He literally said that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
before, I would feel bad because I would just give him no matter how tired it was, every bit of my time. My wife said, you got to teach him boundaries. But the reason I did that because I felt like if I told him no, he was going to feel like I was neglecting him. So that
Right.
was the impact of my father not being there on me. It made me think that if I told my son no, because I felt neglected by my father, my biological father, that if I told my son no, that he would feel neglected. But I had to learn that
Wow.
he knows that I love him. So he knows I'm
Wow.
not neglecting him. And I had to do it so he won't start manipulating me or try,
Right.
kids try to manipulating me to spend
Absolutely.
time with him because he knows that tugs at daddy's heart.
Right.
So I had to learn. And guys, those of you that are watching, if you feel that way, broken relationship with your dad, you can change it. You can
Right.
change it, and you can be that for your children, but you got to make the conscious effort to do that. But before we go to the next question, guys, if you're watching this, I just need you to like, comment, share, hit your comments. Or if you got a question for us, just ask us a question. We'll talk about it. We'll answer it. We'll hit your talk about your comments. But guys, just like, share, and comment on this. And get engaged with us. We're here. We're going to engage with you. So yeah, Anthony. So let me ask you, how important are fathers' words to his children?
Father's words make or break a child. I'm a firm believer that the power of a father's words is something that it's a necessity in the life of a child. My biggest dreams were accomplished because my father told me that I could do it.
Mm.
It was like, man, I could hear from anybody. I could hear from anybody. Anybody could tell me, you know, Aunt, you're gonna be this, Chuck, you're gonna be that. But when my dad tells me something, it resonates me. It resonates with me. Why? Because this is the man who's nurtured me.
Mm-hmm.
So he's automatically gonna see something in me that I can't see within myself. And I think that the words of a father are important. As I said, it's a necessity. I think one of the worst things that happens is when a father stops speaking.
Yeah.
The void of a father's life in the life of any child, whether it's natural, spiritual, God child, the void of a father's life can sometimes lead children into a wilderness that they wouldn't have gotten into if the father's voice was present. I always, 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 man. One of my favorite movies is Lion King. That's my favorite movie I've written music to it. I've preached messages on it. Lion King, I just embodied that movie, man. And one of the best parts of that movie is when Simba did not know really who he was. And he
Mm-hmm.
literally went into a wilderness. And regardless of the people he ran into, it was his father's voice that put him back on the track, even after his
Yeah.
father's decease. My goal in life, man, is that I will be able to still have an impartation in my child, even if I'm not directly with them.
Yeah.
My grandfather's voice very much still rings in my head when I make decisions. My father's voice rings in my mind when I make decisions. Why? Because these are the voices that got me jump started. These are the voices that I'm most familiar with. These are the people that I've known for so long. So the importance of their voice or the lack thereof can really send me in either direction. A lack of a voice will send me into a direction that I don't need to go. But the effectiveness of a voice will send me down the right path.
Mm-hmm.
So if a father does not speak, a child has the potential to wreck the rest of their life.
That's good.
But they can change that. They can change that because even if a father, your physical father, may not be speaking, God's voice is always talking. And here's where you bring in the spiritual aspect of, if my father is not in my life, who do I turn to? Who can I talk to? Is there another man there? You can find your peace and comfort in the word of God, but
Yeah.
also know that you do have the potential to change whatever narrative has been set. But that, and everything that I just said, that's important, but it doesn't change the fact that the void of a father's voice has potential to lead a child, a son or daughter, down a path that they may not necessarily want to go on to. And then this is where I believe that, the mothers have to then step up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if daddy's not there, now somebody has to lead this child
Yep.
down the right path. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think this is kind of where you'll see some, not as much as it used to be, but you'll see sometimes on Father's Day, some mothers will say, well, happy Father's Day to me. Why? Because the lack of a father's voice not only affected the child, but it affected the mothers of that child as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Because while he's lacking the voice of a father, she's lacking the voice of somebody that I had relationship with,
Yeah.
I had interaction with, I had covenant with, to create the child. So now your voice is lacking in two areas because you refuse to speak. So now
That's
you have to put it in perspective of what am I gonna say? How effective is my voice? If I stop speaking, who will I let down?
that's so good, man. And it's it with God, like you said, when your father's not there, you don't have that voice. You go to God, bring the spiritual in. My father's voice was not there, but God blessed me to have the voice of a father through every season of my life. There were key
See,
seasons in my
wow.
life where I had a man speaking into my life.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was when I was a child. Then my godfather, from that, my godfather said to me at my grandfather's funeral, he came and grabbed me. He said, I promise your grandfather that if he died first, I was going to raise you.
Wow.
And he told my mom, he said, I got him. You handle them. And he put
Wow.
me in limo. And from that day forward, he literally taught me things from how to dress, how to carry myself, character, business.
Wow.
And then when I got to high school, I had my high school band director who taught me about life through music, and figuring out life through
Mm-hmm.
music. Then after that, I had my former pastor, and then I had other men. So it was like every season of my life, God blessed me with someone speaking into my life. So I always,
Right.
even though I didn't have my biological father's voice, I always had a father's voice in my head.
Right.
And so
Right.
again, I said that's what made me become the father I am today. And I'm always speaking into my son. I'm always speaking
Yeah.
to my son. You know, we have a confession every morning. I am great. I'm a champion. I can do anything. Jesus loves me. I'm a Holloway. I'm a leader, not a follower.
Right.
I will do great things. He says that. I tell that to him every morning. Now he can spit it back out to me.
Right.
You know, and so
Right.
in his mind, because I'm speaking that into him, his mind, he's great. And here's the thing, and it's funny because he hates losing.
See, yeah.
He's very competitive. He hates losing at anything.
Right.
And,
Right.
and so that my voice as a father, now I have to dial it back a little bit to show him that, you know, son,
Yeah.
sometimes you may lose, but this
Right.
don't be a sore loser. This is how you come back
Right.
from it.
Right.
You know,
But your voice is there, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. The lack of a father's voice is something. Let's just put my nickname. The lack of a father's voice really serves as a big void.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You have to be careful of who fills that void.
Yeah.
Because there are people who will know that you are lacking a father's voice, and they will come and try to fill that void. And it runs from everything from spiritual on down. They will try to fill that void. Trying to fill a void that was never yours to fill will put you in position to really be an impersonator of that voice. You can't even be authentically you trying to impersonate a voice that's not yours.
That's good.
That it puts people in such a bad position, because there are people who really, you know, are out here telling these guys and these young women, hey, you know what, I'll be your father. I'll be your father. I'll be your father. And you notice that nothing grows from that relationship because that voice was never meant for them. It was never their void to feel. You have to be careful, even as people, I believe, having the hearts of fathers, to hop into. That's my father-in-law, man. What's up, Pop? There are people who, when you try to fill a void that's not yours, nothing fruitful can come from it.
That's good. That's true.
And it leads you and that person down a path to where you both are wrecking your brains trying to wonder why am I here? Perhaps that person may have been your friend. It may have meant to be a confidant. It may have meant to be an associate. But you have to make sure that when you're stepping into those roles, that you're filling the right area that you're supposed to fill.
Yeah.
I would rather go 10 years having silence in my life than to go 10 minutes having a father to step in that's not meant to be a father to me.
Yeah.
Because in that 10 minutes, I could pick up a principle that could ruin the rest of my life. So
true. So true. And that those words and that influence, and you know, and talking spiritually, Satan would know that, and Satan would try to bring that person
every time
to speak the wrong words to you and keep you from fulfilling your destiny.
Every time.
So good, man. So let me ask you, what's the best piece of advice you received from your dad? And I'm asking about your dad. Tell me about piece of advice you received from your dad and your grandfather.
Okay, so the greatest advice that I've ever, and I hope that I can say this up here, the best advice I've ever received from my dad was don't kiss anybody's tail.
Okay.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. My dad always taught me that, Chuck, you do not have to be a kiss up to get to where it is that you're supposed to be in life. You don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to sound like anybody else. You don't have to walk like anybody else. Man, to this point now, I have friends around me who wear a certain cologne, and I don't like to buy the same cologne because I don't want to smell like anybody else. I've purposed in my mind to be so different from everybody else because I never, ever wanted to be said that Chuck tried to be this person to get to that place. I believe that God has given each of us individual abilities and capabilities to be uniquely us. And I honestly believe that where many people are lacking now, and especially in among males, is that authenticity is not promoted anymore. It's you have to be like this person to get here. You have to be like that person. As much as I look like my dad, as much as I can sound like my dad, as much as I can do many things that my dad does, I'll never be my dad, because God graced him to do the things that he's graced him to do. But he's called me to do a totally different thing. I have to be comfortable in my uniqueness, man. I have to be comfortable with who God created me to be. Because if I'm not careful, I will literally run myself into an identity crisis trying to be somebody that I was never created to be. I have the same name of my dad, but we have different social security numbers. What does that mean? My identity is literally different from my dad. He created me. I am his seed, but I'm not him. And this is where many people, I believe, big bro, come into a bad place, even when it comes down to decisions that they make. Because the moment they see something, well, I'm going to make this decision because my dad did this. And sometimes it's good to hear, man, you are just like your daddy. But sometimes it breaks somebody down to hear, you are just like your daddy. Same words.
Yeah.
Different concepts, because it's two different people.
That's so good. So good. Now, grandfather, what's the best piece of advice you got from your grandfather?
Take 3 showers a day. No, that was great advice, man. My grandfather would tell us so much stuff, man. He would tell us, if you want hair on your chest, put oatmeal on your chest. If you wanted to have good hair, crack an egg and put it on your hair. Like, my granddad was hilarious, man. But seriously, the best advice that my grandfather ever gave me, man, was to make sure that I'm able to present myself before great people. And he used an analogy of being at a dinner table. And one day I was eating, I was hungry, man. And I was just chomping. And my granddad was just staring at me. And you know my granddad, if my granddad stares at you, it's one or two things that are going to happen. Either he's going to give you something or he's going to lay you out. So in that moment, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, oh, Lord. My granddad said these simple words, man, and it stuck with me my whole life. I didn't know that I would sit at the tables with half the people that I've been able to sit at the table with. I'm talking about government officials, some of the world's greatest preachers, people from different countries. I didn't know that I would have these interactions with these people. My grandfather taught me one thing. He said, Chuck, he said, look them in the eyes. He said, and eat with your mouth closed. And I didn't know what that meant, man. I'm a little kid. I'm thinking, man, I'm trying to kill this hamburger or whatever we were eating. I think it might have been yak, man, because my grandma makes beast yak, man.
Yes.
But he taught me. He said, Chuck, he said, you look a man in the eye. He said, and when you eat at a table, he said, you use this for. He taught me the fork, the knife, all this, and he said, man, he said, you eat with your mouth closed. He said, and you looking, he said, because you don't want your mouth to be flapping while they may be talking. And I took that principle, Nate, I'm telling you, I took that principle and I applied it to every place in my life. I don't want to be talking. I don't want to have my mouth open while somebody else is talking. Because if I have my mouth open, I'm focusing on what I'm trying to consume at the moment. But perhaps I need to be quiet and allow them to just pour into me. That's the best advice I've ever received from my granddad. Sometimes it's best to keep your mouth shut.
That's good. That's good. And I like when he said, look a man in the eye. I actually started teaching my son that. And to the point where I said, what do you do when someone's talking to you? He said, I look them in the eye. Right. I tell him, look a man in the eye, look people in the eye when they're talking to you, because that's something that I was taught as well. You look a man in the eye. You look at them. You don't turn your head. You don't look down, because if you look down, it could symbolize weakness, or things like that. But that's one of the things my godfather taught me is like, you look a man straight in the eye when you talking to him. That's good advice, man. I like the one about the if you want waves, put the egg on your head.
Oh man, crack the egg on your head, man. I'm sitting, man. My grandfather, it's so much that we've learned, even down to my father-in-law, man. It's certain things that I've learned from my father-in-law, about protecting myself, how to continue to honor my wife. One thing that I've really learned from
You
my
better honor
father-in-law.
your wife if he's telling you that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he was saying. But seriously, man, it taught me how to still have fun. I remember when we first had told them that we were coming to Dallas, and I was so hurt. I was scared because she's the only girl.
Oh,
It's her
okay.
and her brother. That's it. And I promised her father that I would take care of her. But also, her father told me, he said, man, y'all are still young. You can enjoy life, and you have time to do things, but you have time to also have fun with
Mm,
your spouse. Have fun, do something, have fun. Don't be boring, have fun. And man, when I tell you, after that conversation with my father-in-law, man, it's a lot of conversation that I have with my father-in-law. We don't talk during football season because he likes the Cowboys, I like the Eagles. So during football season, it's a bunch of jokes, man. But I love my father-in-law because I felt like I gained another father,
mhm.
and I did. I gained another father, another perspective, and it's something that I love, man. And I tell people this all the time. I'm not saying this just to say it, but I tell people all the time. I literally have the best father-in-law in the world because there are principles that he teaches me, and things that I learned from him, even from observation, man, that have helped me to excel in life. So
That's good. That's good. So you getting
yes, sir.
that wisdom all the way
Yep.
around. So what's one
Yeah.
piece of advice you would give to other dads about understanding and relating to their kids?
I can only talk from a son's perspective. That would be to hear them
Mhm.
and to not press your identity on them.
Okay.
One thing that my dad taught me in the area of music, and it was it was something that I had to learn the hard way. I used to sit back and I'm like, Dad, how do your hands move that fast across the keyboard? How do you do this on the organ? How do you do that? People don't know my dad had an opportunity to tour with Earth, Wind, and Fire. He had so many opportunities and things like that to do, man. And so my dad was really out there. His musical resume is really extensive.
Yes, it is.
And Nate, I used to sit back and I'm like, Pop, how in the world do you do what it is that you do? Teach me how to do this. He's like, yes, son, I can teach you some principles, but I'm not going to teach you how to be me
Mm.
because you weren't created to be me. I was created to be me. You weren't created to be me. I can show you some foundational things, but I can't show you how to be me. But he heard me. He addressed me because he heard me. And as much as it hurt me in that moment, I needed an answer, man. And although it wasn't an answer, I thought my dad was going to set me up to train me to be the next him. You know what I mean? That's what
Uh-huh.
I wanted. That's what I desired. But bro, he said, Chuck, God created you to be you, man. And but he heard me. That
Yeah.
was the best. That was the best feeling in the world to even know that he heard me, man. So that's if I could give any advice, it would be to hear your child. And I know that not all children are perfect. I know that some children may be stubborn. I know that some children may have some very serious issues going on. But hearing a child, man, being able to hear them and understand them, hear them while hearing their heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because I worked the public school system for a while. Before we moved to Dallas, that was my last job, working in the public school system. And I could hear it in the voices of the young men and young women and I worked at an alternative school. I could hear the desire for a strong father by the way that they yelled, by the way that they got upset. It's like you could almost see it. And many of them, and people say, man, well, you broke protocol or whatever. But some of those kids came to me crying and just hugged me And I'm like, yo, I can't be hugging, you know what I mean? Because of the
Yeah.
parameters and things like that with schools. But at some point, man, I had to kind of be like, you know what? I get it. Because I know what your boy is. And
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Me and a couple of my homeboys at the school, man, it was just like, and the other two guys, you know, they have children. So they, you know, they knew kind of what to do in the moment. I didn't have any. So, and I still don't. So I had to learn the importance of hearing, having an ear, man.
Yeah, that's good, and that is key, you know, because I like how you said that your dad told you he can't teach you to be him, and I think
Right.
the mistake a lot of fathers make is they want their sons to be exactly like them. They want their sons to
Mm-hmm.
be a mirror image of them, and you
Right.
know, for me, when my son was born, I just knew he was gonna play drums. I just knew it.
Yeah.
Man, I remember the first time he put a pair of drumsticks in his hand, he started doing like that. I was like, okay, take him
Right.
to the music store. He played for a little bit. I don't even think he right now interested in music, but you give him a computer, you give him an iPad, you give him
Wow,
an
man.
app to work on, you give him Minecraft, you give him a video game,
Right.
he's
Right.
on it. And so I had to learn to nurture that in
Yeah.
him instead of nurturing what I want in him. Your dad did that with you instead
Yeah.
of nurturing what you wanted, and or he
Right.
didn't nurture what he thought he
Well,
wanted.
right.
So many dads do
Right.
that. They nurture what they want in their son. They force their sons basketball, football,
Yeah.
sports instead of looking. It may not be sports. Sometimes we can make our kids excel at something that they're
Right.
not really supposed to excel at. And then when they
Right.
don't go further, or let's say they get in the league or they go further and it doesn't pan out the way they wanted to, they don't have anything to fall back on.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so, man, that was so good, man. So, and what I like to do is, um, at the end when we end the interview, I like to give fathers the opportunity to speak into the lives of other fathers. I know you're not a father, but there may be some sons watching. Um,
Yeah.
there are some dads watching, but I want you to speak into. There are some dads who are sons, you know, that their
Yeah.
fathers may still be alive or his father not. But I want you to speak to them, however God leads you. Just say something. Just take like 60 seconds and say something to them out there.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. One thing that and thank you for this opportunity. One thing that I've realized is that God gives the model for everything. God gives a model of how to handle life. He gives he number one, he gives a model of how to create. He created heavens and earth. He gives the opportunity then of how to be a father. A lot of people immediately skip to the book of Matthew when Jesus' life starts and talks about the fatherhood there. But I like to suggest that God became a father in Genesis, in Eden, because he created man in his image. When he created Adam and Eve, that's when fatherhood started. And many people, fathers specifically, look for examples of, I want to be a good dad, or sons, I want to be a good son. You learn two things from Adam and God's relationship. Number one, you understand that God cares for his son. God searches for his son. The Bible says that he walked in the dew of the morning and he walked around. And the first moment after Adam ate of the fruit, God came and down. He came down and said, Adam, where are you? And he
Mhm.
said, I'm here, but I'm embarrassed. I'm naked. And God, being the father that he is, how did you know? I didn't give you that knowledge.
Right.
Sometimes fathers struggle, and fathers and sons, I'm talking about sons right now specifically, they struggle because of the lack of communication. I didn't communicate this knowledge to you, Adam. How did you know that you were naked? I let a void. You remember I went back to talking about filling voids.
Yeah.
God was not there. The Bible doesn't say that God was there. why Adam and Eve had the encounter with the devil. The Bible doesn't say that God was there. That God wasn't speaking to Adam in that moment when Eve was talking to him. Another voice came in and influenced and took over that boy. So he said, I didn't give you that knowledge, Adam. Where did you get that from? Oh, the woman you gave me. The woman you gave me did this to me and made me do this. God could have easily said, I'm going to kill you. But because he's a good father, he said, I'm going to punish you. And you're going to have to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to kill you. In that moment, man, I lost it because I realized that this is the model of a father and son relationship.
Yeah.
That I know that I've messed up as a son. But I have enough sense to tell my father, Dad, I'm embarrassed. And whoever's watching right now, you may have had some embarrassing moments as a son, embarrassing moments as a father. But the thing is that God knows how to handle it. You may have to suffer for a consequence. You may have to work hard to build yourself back up. But God would not kill you. And that I pray that's a word for somebody. And you look at that story in Genesis and understand that God, it may hurt. You may go through it, but he will not kill you. He will allow you to live long enough to see the things that he promised to you happen. And that's what I love so much about that story, man, because God, he just for a little while, just went away for a little while. And Eve listened to that voice, and that voice influenced her. And that voice that influenced her internally, it ended up influencing Adam, and he took the bite. Mm-hmm. So understand that God still loves you. Understand that he will not kill you. But like I said at the beginning of this whole broadcast and podcast, be careful that the voice that talks to you when you're void of a father's voice is a voice that you can trust.
Man,
I hope that made sense. Sense.
Made total sense, man. Made total sense, man. And I appreciate you from coming on, man. Guys, if you were blessed by this, we want to know, comment, let us know, hit us up. Guys, got some great news. Our new website is up and running. You can check it out. Just go to www.canarelationships.org. Check us out. Let us know what you think. Subscribe to our email list so we can get some things to you. And also, KR Collective has been launched. Our new line of clothing, as you guys can see. Check out my Epic Dad definition shirt. You know, you can get this on the website. Clothing line inspired and created by parents. I also have another shirt. This one you're gonna love. It says, "Hey Dad, can I?" Go ask your mom. You know, can you see it? So that's for you dads. When the kids come ask you for something and you want to send them to mom, don't worry. We got one for you too. So guys, just go to krcollective.org and check it out. Let us know what you think. Get your shirts. Guys, we thank you guys for tuning in. Guys, when you see this video, if you're watching it later, we want you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like it, subscribe, go to podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, like it, subscribe to iTunes, share this with some dad or some son out there that you know will want to hear this. And also, as I always do, I want to give you opportunity. If you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, we want to give you an opportunity right now, tonight, to receive him. Because as Anthony said, as we talked about, God will help you through this. God will walk you through this. God will give you the wisdom to do this. And you just receive him. You can receive him by faith right now. So if you want to receive him, just repeat these words after me. Father, in the name of Jesus, forgive me for my sin. Live in me and help me to live for you. Help me to walk out this life of salvation. Help me to be saved. And help me be the father and son or mother that you've called me to be. Thank you for saving me. In Jesus' name, amen. If you prayed that prayer, then you have received and you are in the family. Email us at hello@kingdomrelationships.org. We want to help get you some materials. If you got a prayer request, email us, send us an email. We want to pray with you. We want to help you to answer any questions that you have to walk out this life. So, guys, again, thank you for joining us. Until next time, be blessed.